Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Shelly Speaks Truth right here on Too Raw for TV. Now, we are streaming from a few other platforms, so if you are watching on any of the streaming platforms, that will only be for a portion of the show. And if you would like to see the entirety of the show, you will have to come on over to 2rawfortv.tv, and that is the number 2 Raw, the number 4, TV.tv. And once again, welcome to the show. If you are here for the first time, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Before we get started, just a couple of quick things. If you are enjoying the show, you like what you're seeing here, you like the content that I'm bringing, and you would like to support me and the network, you can do so by possibly considering getting a paid membership, and it's a very reasonable and affordable. So if that's something that you are interested in doing, once again, to support me, to support the show, to support the network, you can do that by simply going over to 2rawfortv.tv and looking for the paid memberships. Your support is greatly appreciated, and it does help the network to grow. It does help me to continue to bring the show and bring the commentary and things like that. And once again, your contributions are greatly appreciated. And also, may your contributions be blessed tenfold. All right. So, as of late, there's been a whole lot going on social media. I've been in a couple of different spaces on various social media sites, and things are just slightly getting a little bit crazy out here. And one of the things that is trending right now is foundational Black Americans. That's trending every day. But foundational Black Americans and delineation is something that is trending right now on social media. And I suspect it will be trending for quite some time because it is a topic of discussion that a lot of people are, engaging in. People have their various opinions about it. So I want to do this first because as I'm listening to different, podcasts and things like that, there's a lot of people who, for some particular reason, they act like they're extremely confused about what FBA is. FBA is an abbreviation for Foundational Black Americans. And there's a lot of people who tend to still be extremely confused about what that is. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Time and time again it's been explained. But what I want to do for people who might still be confused for whatever reason, I just want to give a quick breakdown of what that is for the people who continue to call into these different platforms and say, oh, what is a foundational Black American? And that, and the third. So I'm just going to give Grok's breakdown of what it is. Grok has a pretty accurate definition of what foundational Black American is. So on Grok it says, Foundational Black American, FBA, is a term used to specifically refer to Black Americans who are descendants of enslaved Africans in the United States, also sometimes called American Descendants of Slavery or ADOS. But I do want to stop right there because Grok has it somewhat right, but foundational Black Americans are not only descendants of the Africans that were, kidnapped in Africa and brought over here. Foundational Black Americans are also descendants of Aboriginal Black people who were already on the landmass before slavery started. ADOS and FBA is not the same thing. People try to conflate the two. ADOS is an organization. American Descendants of Slaves is an actual organization that was started by, I believe, Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. That is an actual organization. Foundational Black American is not an organization. Foundational Black American is a lineage. It's just a description for a lineage of people. And I think people try to conflate the two on purpose, because I don't know why foundational Black American as a lineage bothers so many people. I mean, everybody has a description of their lineage. You have different African tribes, you have Jamaicans, you have Haitians, you have Dominicans, you have all these different descriptions for different lineages. And for some reason, people are triggered by foundational Black American, which is very weird to me. But anyway, the description goes on to say, FBA emphasizes lineage tied directly to U.S. chattel slavery and the historical experience of Black people in America from enslavement through Jim Crow to the present. Advocates of the term, notably associated with figures like Tariq Nasheed, Yvette Carnell, and Antonio Moore. Again, Tariq Nasheed doesn't have anything to do with Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, because, like I said, ADOS is an organization. It's not a lineage. It's an actual organization. Now, it does describe a lineage, but it's not a lineage. But anyway, it goes on to say, foundational Black Americans argue that foundational Black Americans have a unique ethnic and cultural identity, as well as distinct political and economic reparations claims, separate from more recent African immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, and Black people from the diaspora who voluntarily migrated to the United States. So I think that's pretty clear and concise on what a foundational Black American is. Somebody who is of the origins of the United States of America. Like I said, they're the descendants of individuals who were on this landmass, who were, I guess, intermingled into slavery, and then people who were imported here from Africa. So again, I don't understand why that is so difficult for people to understand. I listen to lots of, content creators on a daily basis. I like to hear people's perspectives. I like to watch different shows. I like to see what people are talking about and, what's going on in the community. And again, there's a lot of people that call into these podcasts and they act so confused about what a foundational Black American is. And the more I begin to think about that, I begin to understand that people are being willfully ignorant and disingenuous for a reason. I'm going to get into that reason in a little bit. But I do want to talk about foundational Black Americans, because although foundational Black American is a lineage, heritage, and culture, there is also movements happening within the foundational Black American lineage, and one of the most current movements is the delineation movement. And again, we're going to go over to our friend Grok to just give a little breakdown of the foundational Black American delineation movement, because this is what, the reason why I decided to bring this tonight in the show is because this is something that is causing a lot of controversy online. A lot of people arguing back and forth about this. So, it's something that I would like to, discuss into further detail. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up, what Grok's breakdown is of the foundational Black American delineation movement. So, go and discuss in further detail why this is happening right now. So it goes on to say, the foundational Black American lineage delineation, the official criteria used by FBA advocates primarily from the ADOS FBA movement led by Yvette Carnell, Antonio Moore, and Tariq Nasheed to determine who qualifies as a foundational Black American are very specific and strict. You must meet all the following: Black racial identity, descendant of enslaved Africans in the United States, your ancestors were enslaved on U.S. soil, not in the Caribbean, Africa, or South America, under American chattel slavery before 1865. No voluntary post-1865 immigration in your direct lineage. None of your ancestors immigrated to the United States after the end of slavery, roughly 1865 onward, from Africa, the Caribbean, or anywhere else as free people. Well, this says this excludes children of first or second generation African immigrants, e.g. Nigerians, Ghanaians. Yeah, that part is not accurate. No, that's not accurate. You can't be first or second generation and be considered as a foundational Black American. Your identity must be tied to people that were here prior to the ending of slavery. And not just here, the descendants of individuals that were enslaved on American soil, not in the Caribbean or anywhere outside of the U.S. So the delineation movement kicked off for a number of reasons, but the primary reason was for reparations. Because what we're seeing, especially now in places like New York, where there traction for reparations in places like New York and California, and shout out to, New York and California, they are putting in a lot of work as it relates to getting lineage-based reparations bills drafted, because there has been reparations bills before, and those reparations bills, they never got anywhere, because I don't know if it was intentional or just due to a lack of knowledge. Those bills were race-based bills, and anything that you try to do in the United States according to the Constitution, this is what they say. You can't be too sure all the time about what they say, but it's according to the Constitution, it's unconstitutional for anything to be distributed to people based on race. So that's one of the main reasons why the delineation had to happen, because you can't say, okay, we want reparations for Black people and we want Black people to get this specifically from the United States government based on being Black. That's not going to go anywhere, because it's unconstitutional for them to distribute things to people based on their race. And it just doesn't make sense anyway, because there's a lot of Black people in America right now who are not descendants of chattel slavery in America. So it wouldn't make sense to say, okay, we're going to give reparations to Black people. The language needs to be a lot more specific. And the specific language would be for those reparations to be distributed to the descendants of freedmen, which are the individuals that experienced slavery on American soil, and then were, fought their way out of slavery and all of that, and were classified as freedmen. But there's other reasons why delineation has happened, and we're going to get into that. I'm going to go ahead and roll this first clip here in a second, because, like I said, I listen to a lot of different podcasts and things like that. And you have a lot of people calling in from the Caribbean, not so much from the Caribbean. You do have people calling in from the Caribbean here and there and saying that FBAs are divisive and xenophobic. But you have a lot of people calling in from Africa in particular who are extremely triggered by FBA. And, they say things like, we want to deny our African origins. And, you do have some FBA that say, I'm not African. My people are indigenous to America. We were here before anyone. You do have that segment of FBA that says that. And that could be the case for some people. But for the most part, you don't really hear foundational Black Americans saying that they don't have African DNA or, African origins or things like that. So that's very disingenuous. But it turns into these arguments where people can get quite disrespectful at times. And, it's something that as a foundational Black American, I can say I have witnessed in my lifetime. I have seen people, immigrants of color come over from different countries and things like that, and be very disrespectful to foundational Black Americans. I've heard conversations happen right in front of me of people saying very disparaging things about foundational Black Americans. So I want to roll this clip, because this this has been a general consensus for quite some time, you know, with people trying to denigrate foundational Black Americans. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the clip, and I'll, you know, provide some commentary on the other side.
Oops, they have no culture. It depends on who you meet, where you meet them.
But currently there's not an African American culture?
No.
Yes, there is.
What is it? Name 2 value systems in the African American culture.
Value system?
Yes. Name 2 taboos in the African American culture system. Name 2 traditions, by the way, in the African American culture system. Okay, forget it. Name 2 customs in the African American culture. Look, I'm being serious.
No, but I mean, I'm thinking about it.
Yes, there is no value for freedom if you don't understand what it is. The concept of free. You have to have a foundation on which it would balance when you ask for it. Civil rights, they give it to you. You have no culture. Nancy, you've been here, born here. Why would you be surprised if I say African Americans don't have a culture? What, twerking? So, anything
but I feel like African American culture has definitely
you say
mainstream.
No, you say the word, the African American culture. What is it? Okay,
fine. Like hip hop. Oh, not hip hop. I mean, I don't want to.
Look,
yes, I feel like
you haven't thought about it. It's fine. Don't make things up.
I'm not making it up.
Okay,
I feel like
then educate me. You feel. You should know. You were born and raised here.
Yes, but I have a Haitian.
Are you African American?
I'm Haitian American.
That's correct. Do you see why you were being specific with that? Because anybody who encounters you already knows you before. If they know you are Haitian, at least 2 things come to their mind.
What is that?
If they've been to Haiti, they can look at work ethics and they say, yes, Haitians, I know them. Service industry, they know where they do well. Food, they can say yes. And even language, Creole.
Right.
And they can say, oh, I love Haitians. Mm-hmm. Because they saw the culture in abstract before they encountered you. Mm-hmm. So people go over the bridge of your culture, your tradition, your customs, and that helps them to know how to
address it.
Exactly.
I see.
No, you will soon know too, in addition to seeing. So I'm saying to you, any people who ask for these things, which are abstract, freedom, for example, independence, for example, and civil rights, for example, voting rights, for example, you must.
All right. So this guy, I believe his name is Frank. I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Zanu or Zanzu. He's from Benin, and you know, people like him is the reason why the term tether became so popular over the past couple of years, because you have this man who is an African immigrant. You're coming to the United States of America among foundational Black Americans. You know, you've come into a country that our ancestors literally built with their bare hands, and you're saying very insulting things about us.
Yeah, turn off social media.
Such as we have no culture and things like that. And, you know, before I really get into what I would like to say about Mr. Frank Zanu and people like him, we're going to go ahead and turn off the other social media platforms. So if you are watching on any of the other platforms and you would like to see the entirety of the show, please come on over to 2rawfortv.tv. Again, that is the number 2, raw, the number 4, tv.tv. Again, that is the number 2, raw, the number 4, tv.tv, if you would like to see the entirety of the show. Now, when it comes to Mr. Frank Zanu, this guy is supposed to be some type of journalist. I did a little bit of research on him, and he has he has awards. He's been given awards and things like that. And If you ask me, I feel like that's a joke for him to be being called a journalist, because if you're going to come into someone's country and be so vocal about how they don't have any culture and things like that, and you call yourself